Hello everyone and welcome back to Reading Reddit, the channel where I read you popular and obscure stories from the hive mind of the internet while you do other things. I'm your host Damien, and without further ado, let's begin. I called my patient's mistress, but I was just doing what I was told. This happened back in 2009. I was working part-time at a doctor's office while I was in nursing school. I was one of the receptionists and did all the filing and cataloging and such. It was boring work, but the doctor, my boss, guaranteed me a job after nursing school, so that's why I did it. This particular doctor was an orthopedic surgeon. We had lots of patients coming in for MRIs, CT scans, and x-rays. This one particular patient, Frank, was scheduled to have surgery in a couple of days, and he needed to come and pick up his MRIs and x-rays from our office and bring them with him to his procedure. Yes, looking back at how ass-backwards things used to be is so frustrating. But all of these things are 100% electronic now, and even back then, they were too. But my boss was old school. So anyway, I called Frank to tell him to come pick up his images, but he didn't answer. I called him again during lunch, but still no answer. So I left him a message. The following day, I called him again, but still no answer. It was imperative that Frank got his images or else he wouldn't be able to have his surgery. So I looked at his file to see if he had any other contact information. He listed his home phone number, as well as his wife's cell phone. I called his house and left a message. I also called his wife, Amy, but she didn't answer either, so I left her a message as well. The office manager, Diane, told me just to call whoever was listed in his emergency contacts, because if Frank doesn't get his images and misses his surgery, then she would have to do a whole new stack of paperwork to reschedule him, and she didn't want to be bothered. I looked to see if there was an emergency contact, and Frank listed a woman named Helen. Relation to the patient? Girlfriend. I told Diane I didn't want to call Helen when I had already left a message for Amy, as it would put me in an awkward position. Diane said that as long as the patient listed them as an emergency contact, I could call them. She also said that it's not uncommon for couples to be separated but still legally married for insurance reasons, and that this could possibly be the case for Frank and Amy, which I guess made sense. I really wanted to believe that no one would be stupid enough to put their secret lover as their emergency contact. I didn't want to get fired for being insubordinate, so I called Helen and she actually answered her phone. I was secretly hoping she wouldn't, and told her Frank's images needed to be picked up prior to his surgery. She came by during lunch, got the images, and then left. I immediately called Frank again to let him know that Helen picked up his images and not to worry about it. But this fool wasn't answering his phone, so I left him another message. A couple hours later, Amy called back and said she wasn't able to answer before because she was teaching, but she got our messages and was coming to pick up Frank's images now that school was done for the day. I told her that the images had already been picked up. I tried to be as vague as possible. Who picked them up? I know Frank is still busy at his office, and he hasn't had the time to come and get them. Me, again, trying to be really vague. We called someone from his emergency contact list. Was it his brother Steve? No, not his brother. Well then who? Helen. Who's Helen? I don't know anyone named Helen. I'm not sure, but since she was on Frank's emergency contact list and no one else was answering their phone, we called her and she already came and got the images. Confused, Amy hung up. The following day was Frank's surgery. The day after Frank's surgery, my boss jokingly asked me, "What the hell did you do to that guy?" He came in all pissed at me, saying that my secretary told his wife about his other girlfriend. I told my boss what happened, and that Diane told me to call the girlfriend, and he understood. Diane tried to throw me under the bus, saying that I didn't tell her that Helen was Frank's girlfriend, and that I had told her Helen was just a friend, and that she never would have given me the green light to call a patient's mistress. But I reminded her in front of my boss that she said that it was possible for Frank and Amy to be married but separated. This bitch was trying to cover her ass because she probably thought it was some kind of HIPAA violation. But nothing ever happened. I was 18 years old at the time, and I just did whatever my superiors told me because I was really thirsty for job security after college, but I ended up not working there and went to work at a hospital instead. While technically something like this is malicious compliance, I'm not quite sure it does the trick for me. That being said, I am glad things worked out for you in the long run. Potentially a career at a hospital is much more rewarding than it would be working under an orthopedic surgeon. Anyway, on to our next story. Pizza not spicy and well done enough for you? Alright then. So, Quite a number of years ago, I worked at a large pizza chain, the one with the red roof. Every Tuesday evening, a group of 12 people would come in to eat, usually within 30 minutes of closing time. They would order one large vegetarian pizza with hot peppers and ask for the pizza to be well done. They would also ask for chilies on the side. You might think, okay, what's wrong with that? Well, a large pizza would be cut into 12 pieces. This group would come in, take up a large space, have only water, and order the one pizza. Each person would have one slice, leave a mess, and not tip. They started asking for more hot peppers and complaining that pizza wasn't spicy enough. They also started sending pizza back to be cooked more. It was already pretty dark. Well, one day they sent the pizza back, but this time they asked for it to be remade, not just cooked more. At this point, it was 15 minutes to closing. I had cleaned everything and was pretty much finishing up my shift. Of course, the manager has to appease the customers. So I start making them another pizza. They want it spicy? Let's give them spicy. I added a coating of chilies to the tomato sauce, covered it with toppings, and added lots of hot peppers. They wanted it well done? Fine. Let's put it through the oven twice. It was a conveyor belt oven. Normally well done is put through the oven 1.5 times. This thing came out dark and just smelled spicy. I cut the pizza and give it to the waitress. I'm now waiting to get an earful after the customer complains, all prepared with my reasoning that I'm making what the customer asked for. I finish my shift and the manager calls me over. Turns out the customer did ask to speak to a manager. The customer said it was the best pizza they've had since they started coming, and it was just how they wanted it. They asked if it could be made this way each week and left a nice tip. You know, a lot of the stories here on the Malicious Compliance subreddit are more about people getting their just desserts and not actually getting some delicious compliance, as Venice said in the comments below. And I think you did a fantastic job. Out of everything that could have happened, this was the best outcome. You got a great tip, and they're definitely going to be back for more. Good on you. Tell us to take this seriously and that it's part of our grade? Allow me to blow the class average out of the water. Hello, OP here, and boy do I have a good tale of compliance for you. One that happened back in school, so the details are a bit fuzzy, but I still remember the general actions taken. Now, does anyone remember the Accelerated Reader program? Read a book, take a test, get points, and at the end of the year, the class with the first place student gets a pizza party while you get random trinkets, pins, eraser heads for the number of points you had. This has to do with how my school decided to, as a bit of an experiment, have part of your English language arts grade be affected by your AR score compared to the average. The setup. Our story begins at the start of a new school year. The teacher is going over this new policy when she singles me out due to my low AR score from last year, telling me something along the lines of, OP, your single-digit AR score would drop your grade by a letter or two under this new policy. I remember getting a bit pissed about being called out like that, and the accompanied laughter about how low my score was. The teacher ended her explanation about the new policy. I expect the class average to be close to 100 AR points, so please take this seriously. And I swear, it seemed like that last little bit was aimed towards me. Now, back then I was more of a socially awkward nerd, not one to get into arguments or fights, the stereotypical skinny nerd, complete with glasses and a reputation as a teacher's pet. But this is where I believe I grew a spine in a way. Well, that first night after school, I did what I do best. Math. I wanted to push the class average far away from 100 points, get back at those who laughed. So I came up with a simple idea. Double the average. So I need to get 2,000 points. I can't do that alone. But I know who can help. My two best friends / neighbors, Mike and Al. Not their real names. My plan? Use their competitive nature to my advantage in getting a total of a 2,000 point boost. After all, we're just friends trying to one-up each other and be the ones responsible for getting that party, right? Compliance. The next day we get sent off to the various computers to do some of our classwork. Our school, before budget funding got tighter, used to have computer-based language and arts math programs, which was like going through some flashcards like 4 + 3 = or
run is like walk, as stand is to. For a nerd like me, this was easy, leaving me with plenty of time before needing to come back for all of our lessons. So I took my free time in the library to check the AR list, and wouldn't you know it, almost all the Dr. Seuss books were there, worth 1 point each, but I could still recite one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, verbatim from heart. So for the first week, I took the test on all of them during my spare time, getting around 30 or so points. Then I noticed the Harry Potter books were not only listed, but worth some big points. This was well after the 4th book being out, and being that my mom loved those books and read them with me before, I took and passed those tests the following weeks after a quick recap. So by now, I already had the necessary 100 points. But she said, take this seriously. If I stopped now, I wouldn't be taking reading seriously. It would just be me doing the bare minimum. But what books to read next? While searching the list, I noticed a familiar name, R.L. Stine. Oh yeah. Mom has a massive collection of those books, and whoa, 100 plus books? Worth 3 points each? Well, this is where the fun begins. With this bit of knowledge, while my mom babysat Mike and Al at our place, I told them about how the Goosebumps stories were worth 3 AR points each, and I revealed that I had already gotten my 100 points, playfully teasing with something like, "Careful guys, you may be dethroned as the kings of reading in school." Well, it had the needed effect. After homework, we play a bit and then get to reading. By mid to late October, we cleared the Goosebumps bookshelf Mom had. All of us had above 400 AR points. Around this time, we started looking in different directions. Mike going with some detective series, Al going with more fantasy stuff, and me, well, I scoured the school library and found these zoo books. Quick, easy to clear through, but very informative. I blitzed through them. By Thanksgiving break, I cleared them all and had moved on to some other small, easy to clear books, just spending my free time post-computer work in the library. Grabbing a book, clearing through it, then acing the test on it. Christmas break time. Mike, Al, and I discuss how we were doing, about 5 to 10 points away from each other, around 650 points each. This is when Mike asks me if I'm doing this because of the rewards the school is giving out this year. What rewards? Turns out the school wasn't going to be cheap for the rewards for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They'd be getting Pokemon Crystal, Gold, and Silver respectively. A minimum of 750 points to qualify for it if I remember correctly. After learning this fact, I now had a renewed purpose in taking home the gold. Unfortunately, for Christmas, I got a GameCube and Smash Bros. Melee, and it took up a good bit of my time throughout January. After realizing just how far I fell behind, I went full-on reading monster mode, finding some of the highest point books and tearing through them. Turns out, Mom's big bookshelves were chock full of high point books. By mid-March, I had not only caught up to the guys, now past 800 points, but had a nice, safe 30-point buffer, and I hadn't even finished what those shelves had. So I told the guys about them, and together we began clearing through the books one by one, faster than me alone. Fast forward to May, the teacher is going over the class average. Instead of the 100 points she had estimated, me and the boys pushed the average up to around 250 to 260. So she's going over the individual scores from the lowest of a 74 all the way up. Then comes us. Mike, 1,076 points. Al, 1,082 points. And me, 1,085 points. We were the reason the class average was up so high. Later that month, before the party, the announcement came on and listed us off as the top scoring students in school. The fallout. In order to not cause everyone else's grades to drop a letter or two, the teacher had changed it to be a, you'll get bonus points based on your score compared to the average she set, 100. Me and the boys won the pizza party, set the records in the school. I got Pokemon Crystal. Still have that cartridge, and my level 100 Typhlosion on it. I got the petty satisfaction of being able to nuke the class average, and the school ultimately dropped the make your AR score part of your grade thing, going just for a simple suggested point value per grade. As for what brought this back, over lunch with Mike and Al, Mike returned one of those Goosebumps books he borrowed, saying that he had found it while doing some cleaning around his childhood home. That led us to remember what we did that year.
I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd like to thank everyone who posted their stories to the subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. If you missed the last video, you have to go check it out. Links are also in the description. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.